Hi guys! Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this Father's Day t-shirt and specifically teaching you how to go about layering your heat transfer vinyl on your Cricut projects. So the supplies you're going to need for this are a Cricut machine. You'll also want the SVG cut files or any cut files of your choice. The ones I'm using here are completely free and they're linked below in this video description. I have a lot of different combinations for fathers, daughters, and fathers and sons. You'll also need heat transfer vinyl in your choice colors. You'll need an easy press or an iron, a t-shirt. You will also need some weeding tools and potentially a bright pad if you want to work with that as well. So first I'm going to detour and I'm going to show you what you need to do in the back end in Cricut Design Space. Hey everybody! Today we're going to be working on this Father's Day project, and the purpose of this is I'm going to be showing you a tutorial on how to layer your heat transfer vinyl. So obviously vinyl is one of the most beloved things to do with a Cricut machine, whether it be adhesive vinyl or heat transfer vinyl. But one of the common questions with heat transfer vinyl is how do you layer more than one color together? And how do you accomplish that correctly without ruining the design and making sure it looks flawless on your canvas. Today I'm going to be doing this on a t-shirt, and this is sort of based around a Father's Day theme. And I have all of these cut files here with these different combinations, and these are all completely free on the blog, and I've linked that below this video if you're interested in downloading them for yourself. So the one I'm going to be working with personally is a son's first hero and a daughter's first love, because I have a son and a daughter. But if you have, two boys or two girls, or one boy or one girl, there's some different combinations there as well for you to work with. So I'm just going to go ahead and get the rest of these off my canvas here before we continue. All right. Oops. And I have this one here. So we want to think about the size that we're going to scale it to on our t-shirt or whatever it is that you might be placing yours on. You want to measure your shirt. So this is going to vary for everybody, because some people are going to wear larges, extra larges, smalls. Everybody's size is going to be different, and your preference on how big you want the actual logo and design to be. So in my case, I'm going to want the design to probably be about 9 inches across, 9 inches wide. So I'm going to scale that. I've already measured my clothes, and I'm thinking about 9 to 10 inches is going to be appropriate. I'm going to be putting this on the back of a shirt rather than the front, because I want the design to be a little bit bigger, and I just feel with the lettering and everything that putting it on the back of a t-shirt is going to look a little bit better. So that's just my personal preference here. And then we have 3 different color options inside of this. So if I were to select just like the words here, and let's say we're going to be putting those on in maybe white. Let's see, I don't know what colors I'm actually going to do at this point, but no, I think actually I'm going to keep it black. Yeah, I'm going to keep it black. But I think the part for Dad that's orange right now, I'm going to change that to a navy. And then I think I'm going to leave the silhouettes of the kids white. So I think this is probably how I'm going to put it on the back of my t-shirt, something like this in these colors. So you can go ahead and play around with kind of getting a visual for your colors as well in that color swatch area here inside of Design Space. And then just make sure, of course, that you have scaled it appropriately in size. And if for any reason you have ungrouped or unlocked any of these letters or anything, make sure that you have welded them back together. The design file should already have them welded for you, so you shouldn't have to do anything, but you want to make sure that they are going to stay in place and they're not cutting out individual letters so that you have to place them individually, because that would be really frustrating. So at this point, I'm just going to go ahead and go to my cut screen. So I'm going to go to my Make It screen, and it's of course going to divide the projects by color. So we're going to have, looks like our white here first, then our black, and then the blue. And very, very important, you want to make sure every time you do something with heat transfer vinyl that you are mirroring the images. If you do not mirror the images, they will appear backwards on your t-shirt. So that's very important, especially when working with text. So right here where it says mirror, make sure that you just toggle that on so that it's green. And you need to do this for each mat, so select the text mat here and toggle that on so that it reverses it and it is mirrored. Go to the blue mat that I have here, and I'm going to toggle that on so that reverses it as well. And then we can just select the white one again and go ahead and hit continue. And then you'll select your material, your material of choice for vinyl, depending on what type of vinyl you're using. I'm gonna say for a lot of you, you're just gonna be using a basic vinyl, so just stick with the basic vinyl setting. If you're using the Maker, you'll select that under custom. If you're using the Explorer, you can use the dial on the top of your machine. So that's the back end work that I just wanted to note there when setting up your cut screens for Cricut. And I'm going to jump forward here in just a second, and we're going to go ahead and put the project together. I'm going to show you how to layer the heat transfer vinyl. Alright, so my Cricut here is all set up, and I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting my heat transfer vinyl. When you're cutting your heat transfer vinyl, make sure that the shiny side is down. You always want the plastic side to be against the sticky side of the mat so that it cuts correctly for you. And once I get this cut out, I'm just going to weed, and I'm just going to give you a couple of short clips here of me weeding. I like to use the Cricut Bright Pad. This is not 100% necessary to make weeding happen. It is just a tool that I like to use. You can find them on Cricut if you're interested in having the Bright Pad as well. It can just make it a little bit easier to see your weeding lines when you're doing your projects. If you don't have this, you could always hold your vinyl up to a bright lit window as well, and that can kind of act as a kind of handmade sort of bright pad, and that can help you as well see your lines a little better when you're weeding out your vinyl here. So just make sure you're removing all that excess vinyl that we don't want on our design. Take your time with it and go slow, and use those weeding tools to get all those little pieces out as well. So I'm just going to speed this up here for a minute, and then we're going to move forward to setting up our Easy Press. Okay, so I have all of my pieces weeded. There were 3 colors that I used here, and this piece here has the letters that were all cut out in one color. So I'm actually just going to trim these apart because I want them to be a little bit further spaced. So I'm just going to grab my scissors real quick, and I'm just going to trim those 2 phrases apart from each other so I can place them exactly where I want onto my t-shirt canvas. So once you get all that done, just trim those and then set that aside. Now I'm using my Easy Press here. You can use an iron if you want to, and you don't have this, that's perfectly fine. If you're using the Easy Press, go ahead and set it to 315 and then set it to 30 seconds for the time that it will count down per hold that you're doing on your design. And it will take a couple seconds to heat up here, so mine's only at 65 degrees right now, and it's going to jump up, and we're just going to wait until it gets to 315 and it sets itself exactly where it needs to be temperature wise before we start ironing on our project here. Okay, so the key with layering your heat transfer vinyl is always start with the largest design first. That's pretty obvious, but I want to make sure that it's 100% clear the largest design, no matter what type of project you're doing, no matter what file you're using, whichever layer is the largest needs to get placed on the design first. And you'll see why as we move forward in this project. I'm just getting my t-shirt laid out here over my Easy Press mat, so there's a heat resistance surface underneath it and it's safe. And then I'm just going to kind of eyeball it initially where I want to place it, and then I'm going to use my measuring tape to kind of make sure that it's in a good centered and even straight looking placement here. Okay, so I just kind of eyeball it initially and go kind of in the center here, and I just place it, and then I'm going to grab my measuring tape, and I'm just going to measure it from each side to make sure it's kind of at an equal distance in the center. So I'm just using like a flexible sewing measuring tape here, and I'm just measuring it, and it's just a little bit over 5 inches on the one side, but it's a little too close to the 6-inch mark on the other side. So I'm actually just going to pick it up and move it over about a 1/2 inch just to make sure it's a little bit more centered. And then I'm going to check that one more time. That's just how I personally do it to make sure that my designs are evenly placed into the center of my shirt, whether that be for the front of the shirt or the back of the shirt like I'm doing here. And my heat press is all ready to go here, and so the next step is going to be to start the countdown, and I just click that Cricut emblem button and I sort of rock the iron back and forth over it, And this design is a little bit large for my medium-sized Easy Press here, so I'm doing half of the design at one time, and then I'm going to repeat on the other half of the design here. This is more effective than trying to run the design back and forth over the entire, or I'm sorry, run the Easy Press back and forth over the entire design. It's better to work on whatever portion of the design the Easy Press covers first, and then repeat on the portion that it does not. It's more effective with getting that iron on to adhere properly. So I did that first side there, now I'm just moving it over a little bit here, and I'm going to get that other side here real quick. And now the next step is to carefully peel that plastic off. Now if it's not sticking, then make sure you lay it back down and you do another round of with your iron or your Easy Press. It's very important that it is sticking on its own. It doesn't have to be like 100% perfectly sticking. You just want to make sure that it's not coming off when you're lifting that plastic. Make sure you save that large piece of plastic that you just peeled off. Do not get rid of it, set it aside. We're going to use it in just a second here. So the next part here is for us to layer the next piece on, and that would be the silhouettes of the kids here in my example. And so I'm just going to get those placed here. Of course, they're going to have that plastic backing to them. That's exactly what we want. So don't worry about taking that off. It needs to stay exactly where it is. And then, like I said, make sure you don't throw away that large plastic piece from the initial piece of design we just laid down with the dad on it, because we're going to use that in just a second here. Now I'm going to grab that plastic piece that you needed to keep and place the entire thing back over the whole design. The reason we're doing this is because if you don't, and you were to try and place your Easy Press or an iron over it, you would ruin the design that we'd already placed. The two Ds with the dad in the middle that we placed initially, that would get ruined because of the heat. It has to have a barrier like the plastic or cloth in order to get that to iron on without ruining the existing vinyl that we already had in our first layer. So very important that you save that piece of plastic, and there's 2 layers of plastic over the small design that we just placed of the kids, but that still will allow us to get the heat that we need. And we'll just peel each layer up here. So I'm going to peel up first that large layer that was protecting that first layer design there, the navy layer, and peel they'll probably stick together, so mine just peeled up at the same time, and that's perfectly fine. Just make sure again that the next layer is sticking okay, and again save that large piece because we're going to need it one more time. I'm going to then place my words here for this design. The words obviously aren't layered on top of the word dad, but this same principle applies when it comes to layering your heat transfer vinyl. You need to make sure that you're, every time you're adding a new color or a new layer, you want to make sure that you're placing that largest piece down, that largest plastic piece down, so it's protecting your other vinyl in the first layers that you placed on the t-shirt. That's just how you go about layering any heat transfer vinyl. Here I'm just measuring, as I talk to you here, I'm just measuring my design to try to get them placed somewhat evenly apart from each other. So I'm pretty happy with that look there. But as you can see, we need that large piece of plastic again to lay over the whole bottom part of the design so that we don't burn those other layers of vinyl that we already placed. So every time you add a layer, just make sure you've got those other layers protected with that plastic, and you'll be good to go. And I personally never layered more than like 3 or 4 iron-on layers of vinyl together. I've never really come across a project that needs me to iron on that many layers, but I would imagine it would work up to at least 4 layers. But this is a technique you use no matter what, and it's just the easiest way to do it and to keep your layers protected as you add more vinyl to your design. I'm again peeling all of my plastic sheets up here, and they're kind of coming off together, and that's fine. And I was able to protect all my layers of my vinyl that I've done so far, and everything looks really good. If for any reason your vinyl on like the layered parts are starting to look kind of wrinkled. That's typical, and there's a way to fix that. So I'm going to show you that next here in just a second. Okay, just to give the whole design one final good press with the heat, and this will also make sure that your vinyl is really flat, the layers are really flat together. I usually, if I have enough extra material on the bottom of my t-shirt, I will just kind of fluff my shirt out a little bit, and then I will fold the bottom of my t-shirt up over the top of the design. Let me get that here. There we go. Hold it over the top of the design there. So that's a protective barrier. And then I grab my heat press and I give it another countdown. And for this one, I just kind of run it back and forth. I don't really need to like be as specific with it as I did when I was initially placing the design. So I just do a 30-second countdown on this and run it back and forth, protecting it with that lower part of the t-shirt here. This t-shirt is for my husband, of course, so it is a little bit on the bigger side than maybe a t-shirt I would wear, so this may not work for every type of t-shirt. If it doesn't, then just grab something like a spare t-shirt or a towel or something like that and do the same thing. And then I'm just going to fold this down, and that's just one extra little step there to really make sure that design grabbed on really well. It'll make sure those layers, that particular layer with Dad and the kids that we did, is going to look very seamless and smooth now with that extra step we just did. And now our project is complete, and that's how easy it is to layer your heat transfer vinyl. This was a very simple example, but the concept would apply no matter what. And I really hope you guys enjoy these files. I got a bunch of different combinations, you know, one with just a daughter or a son, or 2 sons and 2 daughters. So make sure you grab those files on the blog, and I would love to see your creations as well. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope this helped clear up how you layer your heat transfer vinyl. I will see you guys in the next video. Find these SVG cut files, more crafts, and templates on AbbyKirstenCollections.com. And if you're new to Cricut, I would also like to invite you to join my free Cutting Edge Crafters Masterclass, where I reveal the 3 biggest beginner Cricut crafter misconceptions and the framework to fix them. The link to join is below this video in the description.